So the question that came for me Monday when I was thinking about what I would talk today about was, how do you live a regret-free life? Many people have been with people who have died. Many people know people who have died. And on their deathbed, they say, I regret. I regret this. I regret that. No one ever regretted putting more time in at the office. No one cared about whether or not they put more time in the office. What I really believe that what people are seeking is, how can I have a greater experience of life itself? How can I be more fully present in all that exists and fully appreciate it? Because we go through life in a state of numbness. All the time we're in numbness. You know, Pink Floyd did the song Comfortably Numb. And it described the masses of the world so clearly because we don't appreciate what's happening around us. Think about this. In this moment, right now, over 100 trillion cells are in your body, creating and recreating your body in every moment. You are losing cells and gaining cells all at the same time. And science has come to understand that the cells that we rejuvenate are based on the energy that those cells are surrounded with. And it comes to the idea that how we are thinking generates the energy, and the cells vibrate to that and form that in physical manifestation. I was watching these experiments this week where they put particles, and depending on the frequency of the sound, the particles took a different shape. They've now come to the understanding that DNA is a tendency in the body, but how you create a mental atmosphere determines whether or not you have the experience of your forefathers or you have a new experience. So when we start to understand that, we start to understand that the mental atmosphere that we create, which is sum total of all the thoughts we have ever thought, becomes the belief structure from which the creative process creates our life. So what is the first thing? It's live your life. If you are fully living your life, you will never regret. But in order to fully live your life, you have to know who you are. And that's probably the single greatest question that's been asked for all the existence of humankind is, who am I? And that's many talks that we've done many times, but I'm just going to cover that generality. We are the individualization of God. We are the children of God. We are the Christ consciousness of God. We are that perfection where God said, I choose to come forth and express life individually as only I can as you. And in that, God gave us complete freedom to express with no limitations. None whatsoever. The only thing that limits mankind or humankind is the mind that we create that boxes itself in. So when we know who we are, and we are the individualization, the question then we must ask is, what is it I as an individual values that is different than anyone else? What is it about me? My top 5 values, what are they? When I ask people, what do you value most in life? Most people don't have a clue. And so they live their lives aimlessly, and they float around and they're victims to life itself. Because they haven't set an intention. They haven't set it into law. They haven't set it into the mind of God saying, this is my prayer. This is what I'm declaring for myself. And I do it because this is the unique value structure that I have. There are over 4,269 values to the best that we can figure in the English language at this time. Now think about 4,269 values. How many infinite combinations can you come up with? Well, science will tell you there's more combinations than there are people on the planet. So every person has different values. So when we come to understand the values that we have, we now can determine what is our purpose, what is our way of being in the world. And then the next step is to really live, is to act as if. Act from those values. Live and breathe from the values that you know are they're ingrained in you. They're the essence of God calling forth from you to express. And you see right there, you're living every moment in its perfection. It was yesterday, Gene and I started a day, a Saturday. We had a Saturday where one of us wasn't working. And I said, well, what are we going to do today? I said, let's go kayaking. So we did our normal thing. We did our meditating. We did our prayer walk. And then we went kayaking. We came back from kayaking. So what should we do? Well, let's go get a foot massage. I mean, 70 minutes for $29. Is that not a steal? And you go in and these beautiful people are there and they just massage your feet and you come out and you feel all the stress just wiped away. See, it wasn't planned, but we set an intention in the beginning of the day. It was going to be a great day. So then what do? We went to our favorite store, Costco. Do you not love Costco? I mean, you go in there and you can sit and you can watch many emanations of the one. And they are all so very unique, and there are all these food samples surrounding you. There's this energy, and Costco is my favorite place. And I want you to know, when we went like 3 or 4 months ago, they had 89 items that were organic. Now it's up over 120. So Costco's got this great stuff to choose from my perspective, okay? So Costco, so we come home, and I said, well, I'm feeling a little fat. So, Dottie grins at me. So I decide I'm going to go to the gym. Then I come back from the gym, and I'm in a really good state, and I get a call. I get a call from a beautiful woman who says, yada, 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 yada. And Jean looks at me and says, well, have her come over. So last night we had this beautiful woman come over with this baby. And so we had this beautiful woman and this baby come over, and we had dinner with her and her baby. We got to laugh with the baby. We got to joy with the baby. And then they left. Did you hear the last words? They left. That's the difference between being a parent, a grandparent, or a kind and benevolent minister and minister's wife. But you see how perfect it is to step outside. Because one of the things is to ask differently, to ask new questions, to be in a different place, to be open to new experiences, because then we're living life. So when we're living life, here's the next key to never having regret. It's to never stop dreaming. We so quickly are brought out of this idea of being able to dream. The second we go into school, I remember Harry Chapin did a song. I know I'm dating myself with that artist, but Harry Chapin did a song called Roses Are Red. And it was about a child who went to school, and the teacher said, now it's time to paint. And so this child took the paint, was painting all the colors of the rainbow everywhere. It was just magnificent. And the teacher said, no, no, no. Don't you know that roses are red, violets are blue, the leaves are green? That's what you must paint. And the child said, no, there's so many colors in the rainbow. And the teacher said, no, roses are red, violets are blue, green leaves are green. And she put the child in the corner because the child refused to paint like that. Well, finally the child said, okay, and he started to paint like that. And then they moved to another town, and they went back to a new school, and the teacher there said to the child, it's time to paint. And so the child got out, and he painted this beautiful picture of red and blue and green, and the teacher looked at him and said, no, no, no. There are so many colors in the rainbow, and we must use every one. You see, that's what our life is about. Our life is about, we've got this ability, this palette to paint of all these infinite colors, and we have the freedom to take that brush and to paint the life of our dreams. But we can't paint the life of our dreams until we begin to dream. And then once we've satisfied one dream, guess what? We get a whole new canvas. We can create a whole new dream. The interesting thing is that when you study this idea of retirement, it was fascinating. It was about 5 or 6 months ago. I was talking with my son Matthew, who's in Eugene, Oregon, and he says, Dad, all the parents of my friends, they're all retiring. And they're really boring people. They're talking about just being retired and they golf a little bit or they do this, but they don't have any life. And he says, you and Mom, you left the corporate world and you started a whole new thing. You're started this agape thing. You and Mom are never dull. You're never boring. It's because here's the key. Life is not about stopping. Life is about birthing new and living fully. We weren't meant to retire. We weren't meant to sit. We weren't meant to relax. We were meant to create. We were meant to interact. And here was one of the greatest insights I had this week as I fully more unfold my own vision of my life. We were meant to be in community. Because in community, we experience oneness. When we withdraw from oneness, when we withdraw from community, we can't experience oneness anymore. We're isolated. We weren't meant to be isolated. We're part of all that exists. All philosophy, all psychology, all religion talks about everything is interconnected. There is a golden thread going through everything. Quantum physics says it's consciousness. Religion says it's spirit. It's the Christ consciousness, the Buddha consciousness. Philosophy says it's the oneness. It's the subconscious mind expressing through all. You see, these three aspects are coming together. It's no longer one versus the other. It's now that everyone's starting to understand. Traditional physics has died now to quantum physics because traditional physics is limiting. And science is realizing there's no limitation to the infinite. By its definition, the infinite cannot be limited. Here's the next thing after we dream. Stop comparing. If you are the unique and whole and perfect expression of God, you never compare yourself to someone else because they're unique, whole, and perfect. And when you compare, you're judging. When you're judging, are you self-loving? No. Because what does it mean to love? It means to accept yourself, to embrace yourself, and to know the truth about yourself at all times. That you have the freedom in this moment to become even more love. But when we judge ourselves, the second we judge, we are no longer in love. There's no other way to say that. Every great avatar that has walked this planet has said, judgment takes us out of love. If we are out of love, we cannot be in oneness. If we're not in oneness, we are not living truth. The other idea that comes from that when we're comparing is there are people in our lives. You know any? You don't even know what I'm going to ask. There are people in our lives that really just push our button. They just make us crazy, and we don't even want to be around them. And we stay with them. And we stay with them. And it's painful. It's absolutely miserable. I'm going to tell you what. People are in our lives to support and grow us. That's the only reason we're together. By having interactions, by having contrast, we're able to see things anew, we're able to make new decisions, we're able to expand. So everyone that we come in contact with is for the purpose of supporting and growing us. But we have a choice. We can either be supported and grown peacefully, easily, and not so harshly, or we can have hell. And you know what? You can choose not hell. You can choose who you live your life with, who you associate with. You are not obligated to be with any individual any more than anyone is obligated to be with you. We have freedom to move in any way. We have been confined by the idea in the past that we must be with all of our family all the time. That's not true. Each member of our family is here to live and to breathe and to have their own unique life. And if their path is very different from ours, we do not have to choose that path. We are free to choose our own. We have that freedom. Sometimes it's hard for us to embrace because it's been so instilled. I know in my family, with my ethnic background, family was everything. And family is very important to me. My individual family, my immediate family is very important to me. And yet I have family members that are not in my immediate family, my wife and my children, who are very different from me. And I let them go. I let them go a long time ago because they weren't supporting me. They weren't nourishing me. They had their own path. You see, I'm not judging. I'm saying they had their own path. Let them have their own path. But if they're not on my path and it's going to be deterrent to me expressing more love, I can love them by giving them freedom. Did you hear that? Sometimes loving someone is giving them the freedom to be themselves away from you. Do you remember the movie Fiddler on the Roof? There's a classic scene in Fiddler on the Roof where they're talking about, they're asking the rabbi questions. And they're saying, well, how do we view, or Rabbi, do a prayer for the czar. And at the time, remember, the czar was very much oppressing the Jewish people in Russia at that time. And so the rabbi closed his eyes and he said, I bless the czar. I wish the czar well. I wish that he have abundance and health and wholeness. And may the good Lord keep him far, far away. See, we can attract that which we want. Living a life of regret. What would that mean? One of the things that's really become clear to me is that when we get attached to things, physical things, we start losing the idea and the value of life. Because think about this, it's never the things that bring us the joy. It's the experience. So when you look at your life, if you were to close your eyes and look at your life right now, no matter what you were thinking, no matter what you were looking for, you would remember an experience. You would remember a feeling. You would remember an interaction. You would remember an energetic that raised in you. Because that's all it is. You see, the mind that we have looks at a situation, a circumstance, and it creates an experience. And what happens when you change the focus of the mind, you can look at something and have a different experience. So we have the power. That's why no two people hearing me talk today are hearing the same thing, because everyone's mind has a different filter in it, and in that different filter, they're having a whole completely and different experience of what's being said, because everyone has a different background. Everyone had a different parent, different childhood, different upbringing, different schooling. Everyone had that. So everyone's filters are different. The key thing is, are you feeling more in touch with yourself? Are you being asked to question and go deeper within yourself to understand the love that you are? To understand that you have the possibility for greater wealth, health, wholeness, and experience of oneness. Here's the thing. The mind can experience something without having the physical. And all we ever want is the physical. And when we embrace the idea of the experience and have it mentally, the physical will show up in our life. So it's not about doing it to get the physical. The physical just happens to be the byproduct of it. Because all we're seeking is what? The experience. That's all we're seeking in life, is to experience love. There's nothing else. It comes down to that. Jesus said it very clearly. Love God above all else. In order to love God, you first have to love yourself. Because you can't love anything more than you love yourself. Then if you love yourself and you love God, then you have to love your neighbor. Because you cannot love your neighbor if you love yourself. You see, the three are so interconnected, you cannot separate them. Because no matter, if you separate the three, then there must be judgment. And then the triangle breaks down. There is no longer a trinity involved. You see, that's where we come to. It's about truly loving life itself and seeing that love in the eyes of every human being we meet. And realize that they're on their perfect path. And let them be on that path. It's theirs to choose. So a lot of people come to me, and I get calls all the time, and they say, Lee, I'm 70 years old. It's too late for me. Or Lee, I'm 15 years old. It's too early for me. Or Lee, I'm 40 years old. It's just right. No one ever says it's just right. I'm just going to tell you right now, no one's going to tell you it's just right. The perfect time to start is now. Right now, you have a clean slate. Because all you're ever concerned with, what is my experience now? This is what the great teachers are teaching. Everything that we seek is now. So if we become love now, our body will shift and shape and reshape itself. Because remember, the energy that we are determines the health that we experience. In the movie The Secret, there was a woman who had stage 4 breast cancer. I don't know if how many remember that part of the movie. She had breast cancer, and she chose to heal it without going to a doctor. And for 3 months, she watched comedies. For 3 months, she thought about health. For 3 months, she took her focus off the disease. 3 months later, went back to the doctor. Her body was pure of cancer. Now, I want to be really clear, because my son asked me to be clear about this, is I'm not bad-mouthing doctors. Are you hearing me? I'm saying that doctors have a place. They have the ability, because it is done unto us as we believe. And if we believe the doctor is our source, the doctor is a good source. But I want you to know the very power to heal is within you. And I was reminded earlier of one of the miracles that Jesus performed was the woman who had this illness touched the hem of the garment Jesus had on, and Jesus said, it is by your faith that you are healed. It was by her faith that she believed that by touching that garment, the healing would take place. So it's by our faith. If we touch an aspirin or take an aspirin, we will be healed. It's by our belief if we watch comedy, if it's our belief if we become more loving, if it's our belief if we have that surgery. It doesn't matter, but what do we believe? And when we believe something, know that that belief will demonstrate in our lives. And in the knowing of it, you've combined now the mental and you've combined the emotional. And when you combine the mental and emotional, you've got a perfect rhythm that must demonstrate. Because what happens a lot of times, say, Lee, well, I got these other things here that are going on, and I'm always reminded I have some buttons. Everyone knows I have some buttons. Well, one of my buttons is Wall Street. I've got a button about Wall Street. But you see, as long as I keep pressing my button, or I let other people press my button on Wall Street, I'm holding back my own abundance. Because I made it a judgment. And you see, I know I have a button. Why do I know I have a button? Because I've got emotion when I talk about something. That's how we can tell if we have a button about anything. Is there emotion behind it? So I'm working on untaching some buttons. I want you to know that everyone in this room, the last time I looked, no one's walking on water. No one's floating, so I guess we all have buttons. We're all still in human form. So no matter who we are, we have work to do. The reason you come on Sundays is because within you there's something saying, I choose to have a greater expression of love. I choose to be with people who will see me as a greater expression of love. I would ask you that when you leave today, to go home, to look in the mirror, to look into your eyes, and to simply say, I love you. After you've said that, look in the mirror and look into your eyes and say, I love God. And after you do that, look in the mirror and look into your eyes and say, I will do my best to show that love to everybody I meet. I will be a living example of the Christ now. Not tomorrow. Now. Let's go within. And so as I speak, allow my words to be your words. I know there is but one infinite mind, one infinite intelligence. It has always been, it always will be. It is all powerful, it is all knowing. It is everywhere present. There's no place that God is not. God is the seen, God is the unseen. God is the known, God is the unknown. It is into that consciousness that I understand that the allness, the oneness, has created the many out of itself. And that the individualizations are still the Christ. And so it is from this place of oneness that I fully embrace and I speak my word for each person in this room. And I declare that anything that is unlike love, that is unlike oneness, falls away. I declare, whether it be at the physical level, if there is a physical healing that is desiring to be experienced now, I declaim that anything that looks or feels like a separation from God no longer exists. It slides away. And in that, the oneness fills every cell of the body, whether it be just that individual or the medicine they're taking or the doctors they are seeing. But the healing takes place with the presence of God. It is into that consciousness that I live, I breathe, and know. If there's a healing in a relationship, I see that the eyes of God see pure love through your eyes, through my eyes. And in the seeing of it, all that needs to be healed is healed and revealed in truth. I declare right here and now in this world that peace is the essence of God, and peace fills this world no matter what the appearance is in Gaza, no matter what the appearance is in Iraq or Afghanistan, that peace is the answer. And that as peace is the answer, we feel the presence, we lift our hearts, our minds, our soul, and we go into a state of eternal gratitude and give thanks. And in gratitude, we let it go. Knowing it is done, we say, and so it is. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.